Nippon Life, 10% higher on that stock. Canes is up about 10%. You have stocks like Signature Global, 8-9% higher. So basically, there's plenty of flair in the mid-cap market. That is the short point. But index, Nigel, let's see. Let's see if it can go home with this 100 point or whether we're going to give that up by the end of the day.
Well, that's right. Should be at the start of today when we do that morning chat, I said that, the market is not for the faint-hearted. So today we have moved in a broad 300-point range. But if you wanted, at the gap up opening itself, which was around 150 points, you could have taken some money off the table and you would have been packed up. That's and as of now, the Nifty is up close to 100 points. So bang in line with that. Let's see how we end, because we'll have the weekly expiry factor as well that plays out. But this market's not for the faint-hearted. We have seen big moves in today's trading session. The Nifty Bank would have thought that's in the red. It was up more than 600 points earlier in the trading session. A couple of stocks that I'm looking at, Nava Ltd. Well, that one is up close to around 15%. I was looking at the EPS for the last year, it was close to around 65 rupees. So that one, in fact, is trading at sub 10 times. And last year it had a big debt in its books, which has come down to zilch. So that's one of the stocks that's on your radar as we speak. One of the top volume movers in today's trade. Just thought we'll highlight that one out. How do you position yourself for the final lot of trade? Mitesh Thakkar is back with us. Mitesh, that's sort of a seesaw day, right? Market's holding at around 22,700 odd. But we started the day at around 22,750. So someone who bought the gap up actually is not making much money. What's your view?
Good afternoon, Nigel. So I think, early in the day, the view was that we might find a supply around 22,900, 950 zone. We got a high of around 22,910. And I think that will define the upper ceiling. I'm yet to find the lower ceiling purely because of the lower, area, purely because of the fact that the market is extremely choppy. But my initial understanding tells me that, it could be as good as 22,500 to about 22,450 zone. So we might just chop around in this range, given the fact that the market doesn't seem poised for a big decline. It could be, settling down and, we'll see the volatility shrink, because on the intraday basis, I've seen the volatility indicators start to turn negative and on the lower side, and you would have seen that the VIX also has crashed in the last 1-2 days. So I think that's what we are going through. So as I said, it could be 22,950 to about 22,450, 500 on the lower side, and trading should be stock specific. We had highlighted earlier FMCG, auto, and IT names. I think IT was early today in the morning. I think that still remains the space where a lot of action is happening. I have a buy of a Tech Mahindra right now. Buy here at the stop at about 1285 and a target of 1360, 1365 can be looked at. And the other stock on the recommendation list, is LTI Mindtree, which I would recommend buying now with the stock just below levels of 4,720. A target of 4880 is what I'm looking at.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much, Mitesh, for that. We'll sort of come back to you, but look at the good news at the bottom of the screen. Monsoon to cover parts of Maharashtra into Mumbai in the next 3 to 4 days. Oh boy, I mean, it's going to be relief, actual relief, right?
Because and until you get on the roads,
exactly. So that's what I was going to say. At least for the first couple of days, we won't, crib about it. We'll enjoy the rains and the showers. Nigel, what about you? Nigel already had a brief, a precursor yesterday.
No, I was drenched yesterday, so to call it. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to the monsoons. I thought today actually we were in for some rains, but doesn't look like. I mean, at around 1:30 p.m. I stepped out. It's not today.
No, I think it was in the morning. I saw a little bit of rain.
Yes.
But very light showers. So hopefully we'll get the proper stuff now, right? I mean, we'll over the next 3-4 days. That's essentially what the Met is saying. But let's. Sorry, Nigel, go on.
What goes with the first rains? I mean, when it
Nigel,
rains,
that's Friday. That's Friday topic. That's for tomorrow. We'll discuss.
Some nice samosas. Some I don't know what Surbhi's thing. I was thinking some pakoda. Some nice garam chai.
Hot tea.
Yeah, hot tea, exactly. Surbhi, I think, is already in Friday mode. She's thinking about the wine, and I think, let's get back to the market.
Okay, guys, back to the market. Yeah, we have a trading market right now, so back to it. We've got a lot of these PSU stocks that have been buzzing around, so let's just focus on them and then discuss that with our experts as well. Now, HAL is up and about. Not only, obviously, is the whole PSU flavor and fervor back for what it's worth today, there's some news around the company as well. HAL inaugurated a facility to support ISRO programs. So that's one aspect of it. And then CLSA came out with a note sounding a little upbeat on some of these PSUs as well. Upasna has more details. Upasna.
ISRO chairman inaugurates HAL facilities to support LVM-3 programs. Mind you, currently the existing capacity allows only 2 LVM-3 launches per year. This facility will support the production of 6 LVM-3 rockets per year. And mind you, post-election results, CLSA had written a note on defense sector wherein it has retained outperform rating on HAL with a target price of 4,731. It says that the expensive valuations leave little space for execution error. Company has also given a EBITDA margin guidance of 32 to 33% in next 2 years. And for FY25, the company is guiding for a order book of 47,000 crores, excluding the MRO division. As of 31st March 2024, the company's order book stands in excess of 94,000 crores, and company says that it is confident of maintaining FY24 growth momentum on the back of robust order book and strong order pipeline.
Hemang Jani is now with us on the show. Hemang, afternoon. First, your quick thoughts on your conversation with investors, what they've made of the week so far. It's been 4 days, but it feels like a lifetime, and we've seen some wild swings. Markets have been whiplashed. So what's the conversation? Is money going to pour in with the mandate that we have? And then come in on HAL and defense and what investors should do now.
Yeah, good afternoon. I think very volatile days and what kind of movement we saw on the exit poll day, and more so when the final results were out. I think the fact of the matter is that the IVs and the swings were massive. So I think traders were a little jittery as to what's really happening and what if BJP does not get the required number. But having said that, I think when we look at a larger spectrum of investors, many people were actually looking to buy into the dip, and many phone calls were there as to what one should really be buying into at this point of time. So I don't see investors actually panicking by and large, and they're looking out for opportunities and more importantly, from the pockets which have really gone down significantly in any sectoral rotation that one can really look at. So from an overall perspective, we think that now that market has come to terms with the fact that you will have a coalition government, the focus has shifted to what kind of sectors and themes one can participate in. And from that perspective, I think 2 or 3 things are emerging. One is, of course, the consumption rural-based theme. Other thing is that IT as a sector is seeing initial signs of bounce back. And we do think that given the way US markets is shaping up, and the way the valuations are looking, it would be a good pocket to look at.
Okay, so that's a sense on some of these IT stocks. Let's take a look at some more movers and shakers. Of course, all the FMCG names have cooled off quite a bit, but as have the banks. Most of the large ones are lower down the order today. Hemang, hi, thanks for being with us. Good to have you on the show. So I think the big debate has been whether this FMCG move was just a knee-jerk one or whether you really need to increase the allocation, and if so, by how much. So tell us, I mean, in a portfolio right now, what percentage sort of exposure would you recommend to FMCG? And then give us your top 2-3 picks as well here. FMCG/consumer, let me broaden the scope.
Yeah, so 2-3 points I would like to highlight, Surbhi. One is that it's not as if that only, let's say, last couple of days we are seeing action. If you see maybe, a month back also, when during the con call, some of the companies did indicate that they are seeing, recovery in the rural spend, and the overall volume growth could look better. Particularly, companies like Marico, etc. So there is a sense that you might see a bit of a revival, and particularly when you have monsoon, which are going to be out, let's say, in the next few days, coupled with the fact that the government may also try to do something for, reviving the rural consumption, and, because the election results are telling you that they need to do something. So that would create some sort of interest for the FMCG stocks. We like something like Tata Consumer, we like ITC, and to some extent Marico.
Okay. What about the two-wheeler theme? Based on expectation that there will be a rural revival, some thrust from the government to spur spending over there, consumption, income will perhaps go in the hands of people. Would you bet on two-wheelers, and how do the valuations stack up right now?
Oh, absolutely. I think two-wheeler has been outlier if you see last almost about 1 year now. Even the recent data point, last month, the growth was 25%. So if you are looking at a revival in the rural economy, better monsoon, some, support from the government, surely, I think this is going to be the big sector to look out for. I would go with something like Eicher and Bajaj. These are the two names that I would go with. No doubt, valuation wise, because of the run up that we've seen, they're not looking very cheap. But I think as a theme and particularly with the growth visibility that they are offering, I would surely go with it.
All right, Hemang, I request you to stay with us. Let's focus on a couple of stocks that are reacting to news updates that came in overnight. Sensex Textiles, that's flying away in trade after they talked about development of land in Gurugram. Sonal joins us to tell us what's going on there. Sonal.
Well, Century Textiles, wholly owned subsidiary, that is Birla Estates, has entered into a joint venture which is with Barmalt India Private Limited. They will be developing around 13.27 acre of land parcel for a luxury residential group housing in Gurugram under this particular joint venture. The development potential is approximately 2.4 million square feet and it will offer them a revenue potential of up to 5,000 crore rupees. And remember, NCR is a region where a lot of new developers are entering. They're not new here, but of course they're expanding their footprint in the NCR region as well. Remember, the stock is up 67% in last 6 months itself and adding on to some gains. So Street likes the expansion plans that they have in the NCR region.
Thanks a lot for that, Sonal. Well, Hemang, what do you make of this one? I think in the past we have chatted about Godrej Properties with Sensex Textiles. What do you make of this piece of news and what's your preference in the real estate pack?
I think if you look at the kind of revenue that they're talking about and the land parcel that they are sitting on, there is a sense that the actual monetization can be much more than what the market is pricing in terms of intrinsic value right now. So I think there is a massive re-rating that one can really expect when it comes to some of the real estate companies, particularly Century, Signature Global. Also, I think the stock is up. And they're sitting on a huge land parcel and the market is not pricing in the current real estate market that they are getting at this point of time. So I would certainly go with Century, even though it has gone up. I think there is a case for a 30-40% kind of an upside. Also, some of the Bangalore-based companies, Brigade, Prestige, we do see a case of some sort of uptick over there also.
Okay. Century Textiles definitely in focus because of that expansion that they're looking at in the Gurgaon market in real estate. Hemang, last couple of days have been all about trying to spot Andhra stocks, right? Stocks that can benefit either through some sort of a direct political connect or maybe because of more progressive policies in the state. Nigel's been telling us about KCP, for instance. Anything on your radar? And would you, I mean, even though this might not be long-term fundamentals, but just in terms of momentum or riding the current wave, would you look at anything?
Yeah, I think all of a sudden people have started kind of looking at Andhra-based companies and we're seeing a fair bit of momentum there. So I think something like a Sagar Cement, NCC, NCL Industries, I think these are some of the companies that one can look at because typically when you see such a big political change, some companies tend to benefit and that is how the markets are reacting to. So I think Sagar Cement in particular is looking quite interesting because the valuation wise also it is cheap and we think that you will see good volume based growth over there.
And what about something like Amara Raja? I mean, there's been so much chatter about more direct political connects, right? In the promoter family and just general sort of equations over there. How would you look at that stock?
Currently, Amara Raja seems to be in a sweet spot because the core business, the automotive battery and industrial battery is doing well. On the EV side, they've lined up with a big MNC company, and you have political equations which are favorable. So I think surely Amara Raja would be one of the stocks that one can look at. The only issue here is that the stock has run up so much that you really want to enter in maybe 2 or 3 parts rather than just committing at one go. But surely Amara Raja is something that one would really want to have in the portfolio as a part of the small allocation stock.
Okay, all right. Hemang, if I heard you correctly, you spoke about NCC, KCP, and Sagar Cement, right? The three cement companies. Hemang?
Nigel, I missed your question.
Yeah, so I think you spoke about three cement companies, right? Sagar Cement, NCL, as well as KCP, because of the development of Amravati, if I got that correct.
Yeah, I talked about NCC, which is a
NCC.
construction company.
NCC, got it.
NCC. Yeah. Sagar,
Okay.
and there is a small cement company, Nigel, NCL Industries, which also is Andhra based, and it is 40-50% cheaper to some of the mid-cap cement companies.
Right, Hemang. You know, I recall when Mr. Naidu was in power around 5 years ago as well, these same companies were in focus at that point of time. So let's see what's the Amravati capital plan that's laid out. Wanted to ask you about these power financiers as well. You know, REC, PFC, they've been big actually value creators, but from the top they've fallen quite a bit. Some believe still valuation-wise there is support. Your take?
I would be very selective here now that the entire, that PSU and Modi stocks, the re-rating and the exuberance that we saw. Now, I think that seems to be that story is over. So we should not try to stretch it beyond a point. Valuation is a relative game. At one point, so many companies in the PSU, the PSU banks were value picks, but they did not do well for empty number of years. So I want to stay away from these names. Maybe selectively you can have some companies, either defense or the commodity-based companies, depending upon what you like. But let's not try to stretch our portfolio in terms of exposure to PSUs.
Got that. By the way, there is a news flash coming in, which will tell you that the Prime Minister Modi's swearing-in ceremony may take place on the 9th, not on the 8th. 8th is a Saturday, 9th is a Sunday. So it will happen on the 9th at 6 p.m. in the evening, and we'll put this up for you in just a bit. And, this is, of course, sources to ANI. The Newswire is reporting that the swearing-in for Prime Minister Modi is on the 9th, Sunday, 6 p.m. That's essentially what's come through. We'll... Nigel, you want to add something?
It's going to be an action-packed Sunday evening then, Prashant, because PM Modi takes oath yet again. And later that evening, we have India taking on the might of Pakistan at 8 p.m. So it's going to be a late evening. It's going to be in the United States. So that match will end at midnight, I think. So it's going to be a big evening.
It should be the finals, French Open finals as well.
Yes.
I think. Because
Sunday will be the French.
Right? Sunday should be the men's final. So a lot happening and a lot to choose from. As well. Okay, I think we'll take a quick commercial break here. We'll come back and we'll have our Alpha manager with us. Rajesh Kothari is Managing Director at Alpha Accurate Advisors. He'll be joining in on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We got okay, the flash is finally on the screen, which I was referring to before I took that break, which is the swearing in for Prime Minister Modi on Sunday at 6 in the evening. That's the news which is coming in. This is still sources, but this is what we are getting at this time. Well, PSUs are back again, back in action, and how? So let's just sort of track this journey from pre-election levels, the lows that we saw on Tuesday, the election day, the election verdict day, and then, of course, what's happened since. Hormuz is standing by, he's put these together, and not just the price action, but a lot of the views on how they've changed over these last few days. Hormuz, over to you.
There was a time when PSUs were all over the street. Everyone spoke of nothing but PSUs. Now, the street darlings, as they were, saw retail investors pile in to ride this momentum at whichever price possible, float or no float. The result is there to see. Now, take a look at this graphic that comes up on your screen. These are the top 5 gainers on the Nifty PSE index starting 2023 till the 3rd of June, which is a day before the Lok Sabha elections were declared. REC and PFC up almost 5x, HAL up almost 4x, BHEL and Oil India as well among the outperformers. There are other non-index names as well which have risen anywhere between 300 to 400%. But one election result has changed everything. The BJP fell short of getting a majority in the recently concluded Lok Sabha election, but the NDA did. Yet, PSUs have been the worst hit. Now, in the blink of an eyelid, the street suddenly began to question this entire up move. Here are some of these views. Now, MK has said that they are exiting all PSUs and companies with a weak earnings structure. UBS said that these rich valuation assumptions might come under question, and as a result, they are underweight on India as a market. Now, CLSA has not said anything about the entire PSU space, but they downgraded BEL, a PSU, saying that their valuations are expensive. BEL has been an outperformer too. Now, JM Financial has a buy recommendation on SBI, but it says that the valuation derating, a case for that may emerge only due to macro risks and a relapse of credit worries. Now, Jefferies was one of the big overweights on PSU stocks, and it has cut that overweight position on these PSU names. And HDFC Securities also said that it expects some PSUs to see a contraction in their multiples. And the result was there to see in this case as well. Now, REC and PFC, the high flyers of 2023, fell over 20% on the 4th of June. BHEL, SAIL, Bharat Electronics all declined 20% that day. The list doesn't end there. Concor, a disinvestment candidate, GAIL, ONGC, NTPC going through a demerger, a new listing upcoming as well, all fell between 15 to 20% that day. But there is some bit of recovery starting that day itself, and it continues through yesterday and today. Now, REC and PFC are both up 20% from their respective lows, as are BHEL and SAIL. But despite this slight recovery, most of these stocks are still well away from their recent highs. Now, REC and PFC, which reached levels of almost 600 before the election results were announced, are yet to cross 500 after Tuesday's drop. Same is the case with BEL, BHEL and most of the other PSUs as well. Now, lastly, the extent of this run-up was such that despite such a drastic fall on Tuesday, most of these stocks are trading well above their 5-year average multiple. REC above, PSC also on the price to book front, BHEL, SAIL as well, BEL at 50 times multiple now, or the 5-year average is 31 times. So PSUs were in the news then, they are in the news now. The reasons may have changed, the narratives may have changed, but just like the voter, the investor has the final say.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Hormuz. Indeed, it's been a breathtaking move on these stocks, gravity defying. Sometimes, it's hard to decipher. But then it is what it is, and that theme is still on. Very interesting. Prashant was just looking at the flashes as well. I think in a bit we'll have Parikshit join in to talk about the swearing in and the issues at play. I guess they say, right, there's in life, there's a first time for everything. And I think for Prime Minister Modi, this is going to be a first. Coalition politics. I don't think he's done that in Gujarat. I don't think he's not done that at the center. But now, as some of these inputs that Parikshit is getting are indicating that someone wants the infrastructure ministry, someone wants the railway ministry, and these ministries are extremely critical to the way market men are viewing the whole setup.
On a lighter note, Surabhi, I was talking to somebody, and somebody in the market only said this entire concern that, he's never headed it all the time from the time when he was Chief Minister in Gujarat, right, that he's never headed a coalition, has always been majority, right? Yeah. So the gentleman said, well, that's because the voters never gave him a chance to run a coalition government. So look at it like that.
So they now have put him up to the challenge.
To say that, that he's never run, it's, that almost sounds like a shortcoming. But the fact is, it's never, the mandate has always been one of majority. So
there's a first for everything, as they
But
say.
there was another journalist who said that yes, he's never had to negotiate with an ally, but even internally within the politics, there is a lot of back and forth and negotiation when it comes to, deciding who gets what in an allocation. So it's not that it's a job he will not be able to do. So don't write him off and saying that it's going to be difficult. He will manage. It's not done. He has to do it internally very often in the party also.
And let's not forget, I mean, he's got 40 years of political experience, grassroots level political experience behind him. So, I think we'll have to watch this.
Well, Rajesh Kothari is with us, Managing Director at Alpha Accurate Advisors. He's with us. Rajesh, good afternoon. Good to have you with us here. Thanks very much for your time. I should say congratulations. We were chatting briefly and you mentioned that one of your core holdings is up 6x today. So I'm not going to ask you which one is it, but congratulations. And, you've done well. And you've done well while avoiding some of this, high beta, very high momentum, which is all the rage. It includes metals, PSUs, oil and gas, energy, etc., etc. Well done. Rajesh, but what from here? We're speaking for the first time after these results, etc., came through. Markets are looking much better, of course, as compared to what they were doing on Tuesday. What's your sense? Does anything change?
So thanks, Prashant. I think three important things from the election outcome. The one things what probably is not going to happen, probably will take backseat, is any land reforms or labor reforms or PSU divestment. I think we need to forget about it, at least for the time being. Second very important thing is unemployment, I think was a major issue, and therefore the thrust on manufacturing will continue. So that thesis one should keep playing on. The manufacturing side will keep doing well. But importantly, the third thesis, which is the focus on spending, focus on consumption expenditure, I think that has probably a little bit taken a back seat, and that has to come back in the front row. So I think these are the three broad observations from the political perspective. From the market perspective, from the beginning of the year, our theme is be bullish but be prudent. I think the risk management is going to be extremely important as market enters into more volatile zone. Please remember, the coalition government means more headlines frequently. Some headlines market may cheer up, and some headlines probably many stocks may go down 10, 20, 30%. So, and those headlines will keep changing every week. So you need to pass through, you need to navigate those kind of volatile times. Market will keep delivering you returns, but what you own as a sectoral level and what do you own as a stock level, and more importantly, what you basically do not own, that basically will decide. So I think the quality will take front seat and momentum will take back seat. Please remember, last 18, 24 months, it was a throw the dart and make the money. I think next 24 months are going to be different compared to what we have seen in last 18 to 24 months. And that basically means we need to extremely remain focused on good quality, good growth, good governance, and play reasonable valuations, don't overpay, and be agile. If you think that you already made reasonable money, then probably one can move and focus on something else. So I think that's basically going to be the broadly how we look at the market over next 6 to 12 months.
Okay, all right. Rajesh, stay on. We have more questions for you, but let's also address, of course, the all-important updates that Parikshit is picking up with respect to the swearing in of the Prime Minister and, of course, the tussle between, I shouldn't say tussle actually, the discussions, let's use a better word, discussions on very important ministries. Parikshit, what are you picking up?
Well, we're now hearing that the swearing-in ceremony is likely to take place on the 9th of June between 7 to 7:20 p.m. This is what we're picking up from our sources in the government. The NDA 3.0 cabinet will have a significant representation from allies because this time the BJP has not formed the government on its own. The situation is very different. So from offering MOS rank posts to key allies last time around, the BJP will be offering key cabinet berths in the union cabinet to allies like the JDU, the TDP, and also the Shinde Sena. So let me give our viewers a sense of what are some of the asks right now. There was some speculation about who the speaker post will go to. We learned from sources that the BJP is likely to retain the speaker's post. And we've seen during Om Birla's tenure how the speaker plays a very important role during the passage of key legislations in the House. So the BJP would like to have that control with itself. The JDU and TDP want the NDA to follow a common minimum program, an agenda after the government formation. They want contentious issues like Uniform Civil Code, Agniveer to be reviewed and maybe set aside and follow an agenda that is comfortable for all. The view is within the JDU that whatever is not comfortable for people in Bihar and also for a state like Andhra Pradesh, please don't bring it to the table. Please keep all contentious issues aside and work only on those issues which are agreeable to all allies. So this is where the BJP might find some difficulty. There will be no rethink on things like Article 370 because those are already done and dusted. They have been supported by the allies. Also, when it comes to one nation, one election, the JDU supports it. When it comes to cabinet berths, the JDU has sought at least 4 cabinet berths, and this includes agriculture ministries, rural ministries, Panchayati Raj, infrastructure, economy, road transport. So a lot of asks there, and we're told that they may even settle with 3 key economic ministries. The TDP similarly has asked for important rural, agriculture, economic and industry ministries. Let's see what what happens in the next few hours and tomorrow. The LJP, which has won 5 seats, has sought 1 cabinet berth and 1 MOS rank post, but they can settle with 1 cabinet post as well. NDA MPs will be meeting in Parliament tomorrow at around 11:30. After that, all the NDA leaders will go to the President's house to give a letter of support to show that they are supporting the BJP-led NDA alliance and they should be welcomed to be forming the government. And the swearing in will then take place on the 9th in the evening. We're also getting to know from some of our sources in the NDA camp that the BJP is confident of getting support of independent MPs. Those talks are happening all across the country. We remember that there are 18 such candidates who are not affiliated with any political party, any mainstream political party. And some of them may be either inducted into the BJP or their support may be taken. And we may see those numbers. In fact, there is confidence that the NDA's overall tally may go up beyond 300 as well.
Okay, thank you very much for those important updates. Still in conversation with Rajesh Kothari, Managing Director at Alf Accurate Advisors. Rajesh, how crucial will be the positions which will be given, the cabinet positions that the street is watching out for? And suppose if the key ministries of railway, infrastructure, digital India, they go to the allies, will there be a rethink? How would you approach this?
Well, I think, it is too premature to right now think about it because the names are not yet announced. But I think at a broader level, the government basically will decide the action point for each ministry. And irrespective of whosoever is sitting on the driver's seat, it is just not driver is going to drive, right? I think the entire thing have to go together. So, there are few important, that's why I say the manufacturing thrust will continue. So think from the market perspective, and I'm forgetting everything else. Let's focus on market. So manufacturing thrust will continue, number one. The power is something very, very important. Electricity is basic need. So you cannot tamper with power. You cannot tamper with transportation. So, making of roads or making of railways or making sure that power is available to every citizen 24/7. I think this is non-negotiable. But within that, very importantly, I think what we are doing, at least from our portfolio perspective, we are avoiding the power finance companies, correct? Because remember the days when there was an issue with the SEBs, they became a loss-making company. And there are a lot of things, NPA happens. So power will be there, but whether it will be profitable or not to the lender or to the generator, that something is going to be a little bit, we need to think through it. So for time being, probably our thought process is avoid names where there can be risk. And at the same time, there are a few things which probably will continue to accelerate. So for example, as I said, the manufacturing theme, that will continue. So on that side, we are more focusing on consumption. We are more focusing on manufacturing, and of course, then there are others which has nothing to do with the election. Say, for example, automobiles or auto ancillaries or pharmaceuticals, which are the very reasonably attractive valuation. There are a lot of other things on the market apart from just playing the election and the government related policies. There are many things else as well.
Okay. Rajesh, just to sort of sum things up, now as we are moving towards the budget and we have more clarity on who's heading what ministry, what will be the overall construct of your portfolio and changes, if any, specifically towards the capex and manufacturing theme? So if you could just break it up, I mean, overall, how much would be defensive, IT, consumption? How much would you still keep on the more aggressive side, more richly valued stocks in manufacturing and capex?
Good question, Shulbi. So automobile and auto ancillary is about 9 to 11% of the portfolio across by both AAA IOP as well as AAA budding beast strategies, and they are doing extremely well. More electrification of the vehicle is continuing. It means more sensors, more cameras, more airbags, and many more such things. So that remains a good part of our portfolio. Our second big holdings, of course, is consumer, where we own anywhere between 15 to 18%. And I think with this government new thrust on the rural economy revival, apart from that, of course, the normal monsoon, which is predicted by IMD, that argues very well for the overall consumption as a theme. Here we own both consumer discretionary as well as consumer FMCG. And I think they both are going to do very well, because of the revival. The third important piece, of course, is the banking and finance, which is about 26, 27% of the portfolio. But here, basically, we are holding more private sector, whether it is a private sector banks as well as NBFCs. We also hold very selective 1 or 2 PSU names. So this is 28% of our IOP portfolio is the banking. Fourth is the pharmaceutical, which is, again, we are very positive on this theme from last 3 to 4 months. And then the fifth comes, the capex related themes. But in capex, we are just not playing the India. We have selected the businesses which have very strong India business as well as very strong export business. And they are seeing tailwinds on both the sides. So more product portfolio kind of a companies, which is again less dependence on government. Of course, there is a dependence, but the dependence is a little bit lesser rather than playing, pure PSUs. So that's basically the, capex side. And then, of course, we hold about 9 to 10%, software. So it's a fairly diversified portfolio without much dependence on one single sector in a big way. And of course, within that, high growth and best of the balance sheet. That's how we are constructing the portfolio.
Right. Rajesh, do you want to, since there's so much has happened, so much dislocation within stocks, etc. has happened, I just will read out this flash. ITC shareholders have approved the demerger of the hotels business. So that's essentially the news which is coming through. And I think that's very well advertised. But now this needed shareholder approval, and it's kind of come through at this stage. Rajesh, in terms of specific, 1 or 2 ideas, if you want to discuss, I mean, just to tell our viewers how you're thinking about these things now. I mean, would you want to do that? Because, I mean, stocks have moved quite a bit, quite violently over the last few days.
I think that violent move, what you are ascribing is more towards the PSU basket rather than to other baskets. And I think very important is you look at 31st March stock prices and you compare today, rather than Thursday, Friday and every day, because otherwise you need to be nowhere. And still you will see there are many stocks which are done extremely well. And there are enough opportunities which are still available at a reasonable growth and reasonable valuation, like auto ancillary I'm talking about, like one of the company which is a core holding, which we were discussing, like Uno Minda. Please put a disclaimer. We are holding this company, correct? Now, forget the case in point of specific company, but if any global company would like to